Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. Today we're reviewing the BMW iX3. Now this is essentially a BMW X3 with batteries and an electric motor. Now BMW say that they knew this was coming and they took it into consideration when designing the new X3. Now this actually rivals the Jaguar I-Pace, the Mercedes EQC, the Audi e-tron, so it is sitting in a very competitive market. However, the big question I want to answer today is it worth spending all that extra money to go from an X3 to an iX3? So let me explain. An X3 has a starting price of about 61,000 euros. That's with a combustion engine. These are going to be another 14 or 15k, as they have a starting price of about 75,000 euros. Now, we'll be finding out, is it worth upgrading and is it worth getting that electric motor? And of course, all the facts and figures and what it's like to drive. Now, if you'd like to search for cars for sale in Ireland, hit the link up there, as we've got over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide. Now let's get into the review. Before we talk about the styling and actually go for a drive, because it's quite a fun car to drive, let's talk about the facts and figures. So an ordinary X3, let's say you get a diesel one, it has a 67 litre tank, and going by BMW's stats, you should nearly get 1,000 kilometers to a tank. So what does the electric version get? Well, to begin with, this is actually just a cover, and when you open it, you just think to yourself, I wonder why there isn't a fruit there, basically a front boot. Could be nice and useful. But in terms of facts and figures, so this has an 80 kilowatt hour battery, but usable to protect the battery, it has a 74 kilowatt hour usable battery, which gives it a range of 458 kilometers. Now, real world, I collected this today with a full tank of electricity, and it had 398 kilometer range. So real world range, probably closer to 400. Now, in terms of your power, well, it's got 286 brake horsepower. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we go for a drive. So it's really, really quick. It's got a good range. Charge time, now this is a big one. So if you're charging it at home charging is going to take about 12 hours overnight. It's not the quickest. However, you can top it up. A stat I think BMW are using is that you can go from 0 kilometers to 100 kilometers in about 10 minutes, or you can go from, I think, up to 85% in 35 minutes. So you can charge it quickly. It can take up to 150 kilowatt charge. So it is quick charging. However, the reality is, with a range of over 400 kilometers, you're going to charge this up at home and very rarely use any public chargers. So let's take a look at the boot, actually, because we're talking about the fruit. So let's go straight to the boot. Okay, so the key figure is it's got 510 litres. Now, what does that mean in the real world? Well, it's bigger than a Mustang Mach-E, but it's smaller than something like an ID4 or a Skoda Enyaq. And actually, it's about 40 litres smaller than the ordinary X3. So you are losing a little bit, and that's because the batteries are placed underneath the seats there. But it is a very functional boot. There's absolutely no load lip right there, so you can just slide things right in. The seats do fold down. You can reach in and do it like that as well, which is quite handy. There's a nice adjustable parcel shelf there, so you can hide things in the boot should you want to, and there's also a little bit more storage down there. So it is, as far as boots go, very, very practical. Another thing worth noting is, in a lot of kind of cars in this segment, the Mustang Mach-E, the boot slopes down and that really eats into the space. However, with this, it's nice and boxy, which means you can get a lot more in. You can pack it right up to the windows. Also, electric tailgate comes as standard. In terms of rear space, well, let's begin with the child seat or the booster seat. So you can get it in nice and easily, and actually, because the car sits a little bit higher, you don't have to lean down too low, and the ISOFIX points are really, really accessible. Then, should your children grow up or you have adults, it's actually really, really roomy here. So I have so much knee space. Head space, again, really, really plentiful. Even with the panoramic sunroof, it doesn't seem to affect it too much. And another thing worth mentioning is the ordinary X3 has the same amount of rear space. So normally when you get a combustion engine car and you make it electric by putting electric motor and batteries in it, rear space, foot room, it's always compromised. But here it's the same as the X3. So I like BMW's thinking there. In terms of creature comforts, you've got a little bit of storage in there for an iPad or phones, drink holders here. Also, there's USB-C charging points, so you can keep the kids' iPhones and iPads and whatever else. I don't know, what else is there? Kindles, all those things can be charged through here. It's worth noting you may need to get an adapter because in 2021 when we're filming this, not everyone has USB-C charging points. There's also dual zone climate control back here, so you can basically have it hotter or colder than what it is in the front, which is really, really nice. And as a whole, I have to say, I do really like it in here. It's very bright, it's very vibrant, and it's pretty comfortable too. In the front, you guessed it, it is of course very, very similar to an X3 or also to any modern BMW, to be quite honest. So the whole layout is very familiar. So let's talk about storage to begin with. Generous glove box space there, really, really deep storage in here, and there's a USB-C charging point. Again, door bins, really, really spacious, big drinks fit in there, drink holders here, wireless charging here, and it fits a big phone. The iX3 is ticking a lot of boxes. Then in terms of infotainment, you've got the big screen here, wireless Apple CarPlay. I think you do need a wire for Android Auto, but wireless Apple CarPlay, it connects like that as well, which is brilliant. Over here you've got another digital display. It comes with all your useful bits of information, and then this one also has a kind of heads up display here, which just means you don't have to take your eyes down off the road too much to see what speed you're going, or even if you're selecting radio station, for example. And other than that, it is very similar to a lot of BMWs that we've reviewed, so you can hit the link up there to check out some of them. Things I do really like: the climate control, still buttons, heated seats, you've got some shortcuts here on the steering wheel, your lights are controlled over here. And, sorry, it goes without saying, the sunroof actually opens, which I really, really like. So as a whole, in here is lovely, but I do think it's time to go for a drive. So to drive the iX3, let's begin by showing its party piece. Put it in sport mode, put the foot down, and it is blisteringly quick. You have to remember this weighs 2.2 ton and it really doesn't feel like it. Even at speed, now I'm at 50 kilometers per hour, if I just tap the accelerator, it really, really does take off. Now that's because it's got 285 brake horsepower, but more importantly, 400 newton meters of torque, and it's instantaneous. That's the beauty of electric cars. However, let's pop it back into comfort mode and drive it like an ordinary person. So the beauty of this is it has actually those three modes: has Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro. Now when you go into Sport mode, it stiffens the suspension up, whereas now in Comfort it's not quite as firm. In terms of your everyday driving, well, visibility is fantastic. You've got these big wing mirrors, you can see out the rear really well. You've actually got 360 camera here, which is very, very nice, and of course when you're reversing there's some parking aids too. On the road driving, you've got adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, all the usual things that you expect in a BMW, which is fantastic. There's also blind spot monitoring here, so if you're changing lane on the motorway, that will illuminate up in orange if there's something in your blind spot. Another really cool feature is, let's say for example you drive into a car park and then you're a little bit uncomfortable reversing out. Well, what you can actually do is click a button here and it will reverse out for you. It memorizes the way you went in. You can actually check us out practicing that or giving that a go in the BMW M235i. The link's up there. It's brilliant. As a whole, to drive, it is perfect. It's got everything you could ever want. The seats put you in a perfect position. Everything's adjustable. And I think the biggest thing that I haven't mentioned, it is blisteringly silent in here. So at this point in every review, we discuss some of our favorite and least favorite features of the car. And this first one's a bit of a bittersweet one, because I do absolutely love that when you pull this open, you can click this little button here and a tow bar retracts. Now it takes a little bit of time. I mean, it has to be said, that is very, 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 very cool. However, the unfortunate part of it is that it can only tow up to 750 kgs, which means you probably can't tow a boat, you probably can't tow a horse box, you probably can't tow a caravan. So I don't really know what the purpose of it is. However, it is very, very cool. The only other thing with the iX3 is actually the name, iX3. Traditionally with BMW, X stood for four-wheel drive. So we had the X5, which was an SUV. We had the X-Drive. However, this is rear-wheel drive only. So not only is it not four-wheel drive, but also then you've got a 400 Newton meters of torque car going to the rear wheels. It's a little bit twitchy on a wet road. But that leads me into some of my favorite things. And number one on that list is that it is actually one pedal driving. So when you take your foot off the accelerator, you actually have to slowly be very cautious about it, because if you take it off too quickly, watch what happens. It goes on the brakes, it slams on the brakes. So it's using the power of slowing down to regenerate power, and then it's going to effectively in the long run increase your range. So you can actually come completely to a halt. So watch this, my feet are well and truly off and we are officially at 0 kilometers per hour. The second thing is that this boot's actually quite functional. So earlier on, you might have noticed I was leaning in. It's because I hadn't quite discovered this little lever here. Very, very practical. Another thing is that if you're just charging around or carrying around one of your chargers, you can actually fit it in here really nice and snugly, which is very, very nice. A lot of manufacturers almost forget that cars have chargers. So at the end of it all, the question still stands. Is it worth spending the extra bit of money to get the electric version? Personally speaking, I'd actually say yes, it is. And the reason for that is a huge amount of X3s are going to be sold on some sort of finance deal. And when you add in a little bit more, it's probably only going to cost you 50 to 100 euro extra per month. I don't know the exact figure, but it's not going to be dramatic. And for that, it's probably worth it. What's more is then you can charge it at home, you can drive around in pure silence and in true elegance in many ways. And again, a lot of people who drive an X3 are probably just doing the school run or maybe driving a short commute to work, and being able to just top it up at home overnight, there's a lot to be said for it. On top of that, I do really like how the iX3 doesn't necessarily shout. I am electric from every point that you look at it. In fact, it's very, very subtle. These aerodynamic wheels, whilst they're 20-inch, they may be somewhat of a giveaway, but other than that, this particular one is very subtle. Every now and then you'll see a little blue kind of different place here. You'll see it on the badge, it's on the push start button on the inside. However, generally speaking, it is very, very much an X3 with an electric motor. That said, I have seen some with some blue trims all over the place, and personally I don't think they look the best, but I do really like this one. It's nice and subtle and it does the job. I hope you've enjoyed the review. If you have, please make sure to subscribe. Leave us a comment on what car you'd like to see us review in the near future, and if you're looking at buying a new car, then definitely let us know. And of course, hit the link up there to search for new cars. We've got over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide on DoneDeal, which means you can buy with confidence and with security. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.